Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. This is Into Silence House Inside a Home. My name is Mira, and I will be playing Sammy Satomi, and potentially another character. And with me is the very wonderful,
Hello, I am Oatmeal, and today I will be playing the Professor.
whom we love very much.
The Professor, and I guess, by extension, the Ellipsis.
Yes, who we also love very much. So, to get things off, we have a little bit of a conundrum because the last we left off in uh, Into Silence, the obligatory Hot Springs episode, there were several unfortunate realizations that happened,
Yeah.
which led to Sammy asking if he could hang up the House of Paint in the Ellipsis.
That's right.
So I guess I should start this off with a hammer space roll. Okay, that's an 8. He does not fumble. Uh Professor, you're probably with Sammy when this happens. You just see this comedically large painting get pulled out of his shirt sleeve, and the painting looks like this. It
Yee.
is a cottage scene with a bridge and a garden full of rainbow flowers. And the cottage itself has a patchwork of brown roof and golden yellow roof alongside golden yellow windows and pink windows. And a nice, big, large uh, wooden door. And it's surrounded by woods, and it looks like it's encroaching twilight hours in the sky. Looks really nice and cozy.
Can I ask, has it changed in universe from the last time the Professor saw it?
Yes, actually.
Should I, like, roll perception for that or something, or history?
Roll history, and I'm gonna
Alright,
roll
Professor.
history for history. Roll Sammy a history too to see if he notices, because it was a gradual change. Yet I would say he notices.
Alright, let's see. What is your history mod? Good. Okay. That's a 14.
Okay, yeah, you definitely both like actually take a moment to look, and Sammy goes, "Wait, the composition is a lot different now."
It is different, isn't it?
Yeah, when did that happen?
I don't know. You would know better than I.
I And Sammy just kind of trails off to contemplatively think about this because he got a 15, but it was a very gradual change, so he wouldn't have noticed because it slowly started to shift. And his wings are all very kind of just slightly raised and fluttery as his shading on both skin and wings goes gray as he's trying to think, and it's just summoning question marks above his head.
You don't think it was, the same time you got a redesign? Can Toon items get a redesign? If they're not part of your, any sort of, like, waves a hand over Sammy, your ensemble?
I mean, I guess it can change. I don't think it happens very often. Uh, I'm I'm confused. This is not something I was expecting, but I guess we should probably hang it up in my room and make sure that it's all good.
Yeah, certainly. I have gone through and, calibrated everything to make sure that it won't cause any problems. Do you know? Do you know what happens usually when you open an extra-dimensional space such as this inside another extra-dimensional space in
Uh,
non-Toon items?
Sammy's gonna roll history. That's a 17. He looks at the professor. There's a dot, dot, dot light bulb, and he goes, "Oh, things explode."
They tend to explode, and sometimes they even open a portal to the astral plane, which can be interesting, but it's not usually desirable.
He shakes his head and just kind of hugs this giant painting to his chest, like, eh.
Yeah, but again, I've sorted things out. Like I said, the ellipsis is very advanced, very powerful, and like, I mean, you could have a bag of holding in here. You can have hammer space has no trouble. I just, she's not used to something this large, any sort of like gestures to the painting, so it wasn't in the default settings, but it should all be sorted and ready to go.
Sammy very visibly relaxes from the light lilac of that the idea of things go boom, losing both house and ellipsis. No, thank you.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And like he just relaxes from that, and his shading goes back to more gray, confused, but more on the calm side of emotions. Just
Well, why don't you figure out which wall you want to put it on?
and Sammy kind of just looks from one wall to the other, and his room is not what you would expect from a toon like Sammy. His the walls are pink and the carpet is yellow, a nice golden yellow color. If asked, he will just point and go favorite colors. And so he kind of is like just I don't think I want it to be immediately visible from the door. So he turns to the wall that's not immediately like you open the door and suddenly you see, oh, great big painting. No, it's the other wall.
The side wall or the wall the door's on? Out of curiosity.
The side wall.
Got it.
So like you can still turn your head and look, but
Yeah.
like it's not immediately present in your view.
Yeah.
And so he hangs it up. Uh, and it just kind of rests up there, but you get the feeling that if you uh, like it's hanging up there and it doesn't immediately turn into a door like it has in the past. It kind of just is vibing there, but the ellipsis, especially you through the ellipsis professor, you get the sense that if you tapped the frame and basically went, I want to go in, it'll shift accordingly. It's the painting is trying to respect the boundaries that the ellipsis already has.
He just sort of he tilts his head and he says, "It seems as though it might work slightly different now. I'm not sure if that's because it's changed or because it. I get the sense it's being polite. As odd as that may sound. If we just, you've got to display your intention to going inside. Otherwise, I think it's just going to. He sort of gestures at it, be like this.
Sammy just kind of goes, huh. And he's going to reach up and tap the side of the painting, and it shifts into a door that is golden with a more brass shaped handle. Well, actually, no, it's the door that is displayed in where with the painting of the cottage. So it's a brown
Mm.
wooden door with a gold knob.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go.
And Sammy kind of tilts his head and goes, um, do you want to come inside and see if anything's changed?
Certainly.
Okay, and I just need to hunt down the pictures of the map for uh, the House of Paint because I know I have them. I just gotta find them again. Aha. And I will say the layout itself has not changed just
Okay.
because there are two people. It's just, it's nice to have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
And
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
But what's interesting is as you step through the door, you don't immediately step into the actual House of Paint itself. It actually deposits you into the garden scene.
Hmm. Well, now this is different.
And Sammy is like looking around with his shading like bright yellow because garden. Oh, there's a garden.
Hmm.
Oh, he's very excited about the garden. And if you want, you can roll investigation.
Certainly. Investigation. That is 16.
Okay, with a 16, you are looking around and you notice that like it looks like a legitimate place. Like it's not just it. It's in like the style of a watercolor.
Hmm.
Uh, but like you can bend down and pick up like you can prick a leaf. You could pick up a flower. You could you probably step along the path and snap on a twig.
It's like fully
Like
interactable.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And just Sammy's just kind of like you see Sammy like to the side just kind of spit doing like basically a spin
Hmm.
around taking everything in. And he's like, oh, the door's still there. And he just points and behind you guys is now a door just hanging out in the middle of this scene.
Ah. Well, I mean, I
So
suppose we'd have to get back somehow.
and Sammy nods and just goes, yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Ah, this place is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of wiggles a little bit in place before grabbing your hand, Professor, and charging forward.
He will come along. He's also admiring this place. It's very pretty.
Mm-hmm. And as you get closer alongside the path, you see that there's more flowers, and there's actually bushes of this rainbow, with like rainbow flowers on the bushes as
Mm.
well. And they go right up to the House of Paint, like the cottage itself.
Mm-hmm.
And Sammy's just like, why is it my favorite colors? This is he's vibrating.
Well, it is your house.
Yeah, but when I bought it, it didn't have anything like this. I
Maybe
and like he
it's
just
attuned?
maybe, but it's been over almost over a year since I've had this.
Professor seems to think for a bit and then shrugs. He doesn't know.
Hmm. And Sammy gently opens up the door, and it opens up into the little entrance nook where you can take off your shoes and put them on the little shoe
Mm-hmm.
station and put on slippers
Yeah.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Sammy does take off his shoes and put on slippers, and they're nice and cozy. And then
Yeah.
he just kind of wiggles in them.
Professor will do that also, and he takes something from his shoe and puts it in his pocket.
Sammy's not gonna ask. He understands storing things in certain places just so they're not like taken away or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah,
And
he doesn't have a hammer space, so.
yeah, so like Sammy doesn't even really blink at that, and like he just kind of pulls along, and he uh, leads the way from the entrance hall into the open space between the kitchen and the living room.
Mm.
And he goes, I wonder if it's still got tea in here. And he kind of absentmindedly starts wandering into the kitchen, but he jumps when the one of the cabinet doors uh, opens to showcase the tea.
Oh, good heavens. Did it used to do that?
No.
How odd. It's starting to act like the ellipsis.
Uh, uh, you think it's because I put the house of paint on the painting? On the wall of the ellipsis?
I. That. I don't know. I'm. I mean, she's not controlling it. That's. I can say that for sure. That's not her doing.
He just kind of nods and rubs the back of his head. He looks so confused. But he reaches up and takes the tea and just gently pats the cabinet and goes, thank you. And there is a little as the door of the cabinet just wiggles.
Oh my god, that's so cute. It's waving at
Uh,
you, Sammy.
yeah. Hi, little guy. I don't know why I called you little. And then there's like a little rattle of the cabinets that kind of goes over uh, to the stove,
Hmm.
and there's like a little rattle, and the teapot is just kind of shuffled onto the stove, and the stove turns on with a.
It's helping you. This is
Sammy's just
adorable.
Sammy's just like standing there and going, wait, what, what is going on? And like it's very obvious, like he's not like afraid. It's just he's
Mm-hmm.
so confused, baffled, and like quietly delighted.
Mm-hmm. I think your house of paint may have developed a mind of its own.
There is a as if it's agreeing with you. And Ellie, you get the sense that there is a very young presence kind of lightly, gently brushing up against you, but not like actually like going into you, just kind of like, oh,
Uh-huh. The ellipsis's presence is humongous, like
mm-hmm,
mountainous, and
mm-hmm,
it generally is sort of just like a sort of sleeping giant, but it has been it is watching this small creature, uh, this small presence with like uh, just a small part of its being, but as it like realizes it's there and brushes against it, it like uh it like gets up and expands and like uh just sort of like curls around and like envelops this small thing, like not to like not to like consume it, but just to like uh to hold it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it the entire presence like just pours like curiosity and uh adoration into this small thing. And the professor, I
Uh,
think, as this is happening, he jolts a little bit and kind of stumbles in place.
Sammy, like, immediately concerned, reaches out to steady the professor, and he's just, Professor, are you
Uh,
okay?
I'm fine. My goodness. Between you and like the countertop, he completely steadies, and he just sort of looks up at the ceiling, but like he's not in he is in the ellipsis, but he's not directly in the ellipsis. He says, steady on, old girl. She's Sammy. She's whatever's going on. She's goodness, more excited than I've than I've seen her in years.
Sammy's just like, oh, oh, wow. This is, so this is happening. And he just kind of, guides you to, the kitchen table
Mm-hmm.
and goes, if she's, uh, very excited and you're less overwhelmed, you might want to sit down.
I might as well. He does sit at the table. He's
And
yeah.
mhm. I'm gonna just say, the tea very quickly stops, is quickly prepared by the very enthusiastic, little house that is kind of just. You get the sense that there's like a sense of excitement that's kind of peering through, even like with like the lighting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody can tell that this house is very happy and very excited to be helping.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like little happy, cabinet rattles, and, two teacups are produced and just gently rattled into place. And, Sammy does have to take the tea kettle and actually pour the tea,
Mm-hmm.
but, he's able to bring the tea over to the professor and sit down himself. And, meanwhile, shifting gears a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
the ellipsis, has currently enveloped this tiny little presence, and the presence is just like very excitable puppy, child, golden retriever, like just hi, 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 help, hello.
Aw, that's so cute. The ellipsis like uh rumbles a sort of wordless greeting.
Like it's just, how in, Treasure Planet, how Glorp, uh
Yeah.
is just,
Zippy.
like zippy and melds and kind of just goes and just kind of does that kind of thing.
Yeah,
They
gloopy.
are orb shaped, but they are also gloopy, and
Oh.
they just kind of excitedly kind of in the ellipsis's presence and grasp just kind of rub up against the ellipsis and just kind of like a cat
Mm-hmm.
almost, like just doing the head rub of greeting and just hi, hi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I help.
Yeah, there is there there is a low, like, very bass like sound of like uh affirmation and approval.
Just there's no other word for it, but this little being wiggles.
Mm-hmm.
They just wiggle very happily.
Mm, gosh.
And just
Uh.
this little being is just so very happy and very new and just very happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Yeah, the ellipsis kind of just continues to sort of just like uh observe it and like mildly obsess over it because wow. 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 Hello. Like it's just it's very excited in its own strange way.
hmm Like kind of just like like oh gosh, I lost the metaphor. But like it's just kind of like, oh, this new tiny being has come into being and I get to hold it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very much the like, oh, a baby sort of thing.
Yes. Yes.
uh, uh, yeah. Gosh.
Because this little being is very much baby.
Mm.
And just Sammy's just kind of sitting there in the kitchen with the professor and just going, huh.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned, but I'm a little just like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm. The professor is sipping at his tea, and he looks like after that initial jolt, like he's fine, but he looks just very slightly wired. But in in a good way. But like
Mm-hmm.
um, it just sort of things seeping over from his connection with the ellipsis.
Mm-hmm.
And um, uh, he takes another sip of tea and scratches at his face and he says, well, if the impressions I'm getting are right, um I think we were right. This thing has manifested itself a mind. I think you might have a genius loci of sorts on your hand, Sammy.
Kind of kind of like Auntie Lynn with her network. And he just kind of pats the table and he looks super happy and just like also like that bewildered dad look
Uh-huh.
of I don't know how this happened, but I am happy about it.
Right.
Because like he's already loved the House of Paint so much and that's one of the reasons why it came to being
Mm.
because Velveteen Rabbit rules. If you love it
Yes.
enough, it turns into something it becomes alive.
Mm. Gosh.
And it he just kind of is just like, he kind of just looks up at the ceiling and goes, "Do you have a name?" And it's his turn to kind of stumble a little because the House of Paint had not been talking directly to Sammy just
Mm-hmm.
yet. It was busy saying hello to its neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of goes, "Oh gosh, hi, there's a, oh, that's an excitable little child." Like that kind of muttered under his breath, but then like he just kind of rubs his head and goes, "Their name's Hop?"
Oh, Hop, HOP, House of Paint.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Oh, that's adorable.
And you just and like Sammy just kind of goes, "They're so bouncy."
Uh, well, I suppose they're pretty young, so it only makes sense.
Yeah, I and like he just kind of turns to the house and goes, "Don't try and break yourself trying to help us, okay?" And there's just a little cabinet door in. Okay.
Wow, this is extraordinary.
And Sammy just kind of is just like, "You're telling me."
Mm.
Is it always like this, having a sentient uh thing in your, oh, not a thing, but for lack of better term, sentient uh house in your head like this? Because I know Ellie is technically um a ship as well as a house,
Mm-hmm.
home. Um,
Yeah, it's hmm. I- It's. I'm not sure if I. Is it always like this? Hmm.
just when they get really excited and stuff, this
Oh,
is interesting.
yes. I. Well, I mean, if you're well connected, if you have a strong bond, then yes, you get a feel for what they're feeling, and um, uh, sometimes there's I suppose the closer you are, sometimes you can get a little bit of you can even uh, well, not just know what they're feeling, but feel it as well.
Hmm. And he makes it just a soft, understanding noise and pats the table again. And there's just a little wiggling of a few of the tiles that are like not where the table is, but like just on the floor that kind of just go wiggle wiggle in acknowledgement because there is hot tea on the table and they don't. Hop does not want to wiggle the table.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Uh,
And like Sammy just kind of like rubs his face a little bit and goes, "I mean, I guess it makes sense that they would become sentient because there was already kind of a checking in with the inhabitants of the house just to make sure that the rooms were comfy. So
mm.
I guess me staying with the House of Paint for so as long as I have, I guess it just about bound to happen."
Suppose so. I
The
mean,
cabinets kind of open up in a shrug, like,
I mean, you must have really put a lot into this house. I mean, a bond like that doesn't just well, it doesn't just come from nothing.
Yeah, Hop is my home.
Mm.
I can take them wherever with me. And he kind of grows silent for a moment and just goes, when you've lost your previous home and haven't had one for a very long time, being able to have that home and being able to take it with you,
Mm.
it it's important.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And he just kind of looks up at you, Professor, because, oh, that sounds like the professor understands very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he nods, and uh, he smiles, and he says, "I. It took me a long time to uh, to realize um, that the Ellipsis was my new home, but I did eventually, and well, like you said, being able to take her with me wherever I go is invaluable."
He nods. He just he just kind of like flops onto the table and tries to give the table a hug.
uh, Gosh.
And the House of Paint doesn't really react to that, but like they're Sammy definitely gets the feeling that if the House of Paint had arms, there would be a hug.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Just in zooming zooming kind of back to the Ellipsis and Hop themselves, there has been like kind of like this split attention that Hop has kind of visibly started doing as soon as they started talking to Sammy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but so they are basically having like two different conversations at the same time. There's rambling at Sammy, and then there's rambling at the Ellipsis.
Uh-huh. uh,
Just very excited little kid going, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Oh, what do you think about this? Do you think they would like this? And just like that's the Ellipsis side. And then like on Sammy's side, they're just like basically body slamming him with excited love
Aw, so cute.
because they can't hug him, but they can sure as heck tell this tune that they love him.
Yeah. Oh gosh. The ellipsis gives Hop a sort of metaphysical pat and a little, just sort of warning not to overextend themselves.
They kind of blink, and then like they kind of like there's like this like equivalent of examining themselves.
Uh-huh.
And then also checking in on the state of Sammy and going, oh, wait, I think I might be bombarding them a little bit. And they kind of just gently scale that down to just a very happy, warm, caring love that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just buzzing
Mm-hmm.
at Sammy instead of just a full on body slam repeatedly.
Yeah, yeah. The ellipsis kind of sees Hop do this and remembers to sort of turn down the excitement output, and they sort of like, instead of uh having a sort of like blinding glow of excitement, it's more bearable now. And like back in the back in the actual House of Paint, like the professor just sort of like relaxes slightly. Like, oh yeah, that's a
Sammy's
thing we can do. Like, just chill out a
and
little bit.
Sammy's just kind of a puddle right now on the table just because emotions.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Like he's very happy, but he's also just kind of like got like the very big watery eyes because he's just like they're adorable, help,
Yeah. Oh.
and they love me.
Oh yes.
Nothing helps your self-esteem after a very traumatic day and finding out that the thing that you've lived in has now become a being and loves you so much.
Hmm. Yes. Oh gosh. Hmm.
Just but yeah, like it's like just the house Hop is just kind of peppering the ellipsis for like room decoration advice and oh do you think that they would like a pool? Do you think they would like a lake? And like just kind of like excitedly trying to figure out things that would be fun for their the parties when they pop into the House of Paint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like they add on, I don't know if I can do all of these yet, but do they sound cool?
Yeah, there is sort of like a very vast patience as the ellipsis, you know, listens to all of these and um uh and tries to like uh nudge their suggestions in the right uh direction. Like, you know, and they're glad that they realize that they have limits, but but also that they're very excited to be able to do more things. They're not sure about the specifics of like uh she doesn't know whether a lake or a pool would be better, but like they're very encouraging either way.
Just very excited small child turning to the adult in the room and going, I have so many projects. Do they
Yeah,
sound cool?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's yeah, Hop gets the impression that the ellipsis thinks they're very cool.
Oh, that just makes them very happy. And like, there's just like a burst of happiness that, while not like a full on body slam, is definitely kind of like the mental equivalent of a tackle that gets bled through to Sammy
Mm-hmm.
because they're so excited.
uh,
They get
gosh.
to do so many things now.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. They're so cute.
Yeah, and this is around the time that Sammy actually gets the mental picture of what this little being's soul looks like. It looks like a little orb with several other smaller orbs around it, kind of orbiting it.
Mm.
And it's all very rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
A little glowing orb of rainbow, but it looks like it's made out of watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
and like the colors kind of swirl and swish around in like kind of like an iridescence,
Yeah.
kind of like when you have watercolor in the water and it hasn't settled on the
Mm.
page yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what hop looks like for the
Mm.
viewers out there.
uh,
And he just kind of like makes a little, oh, they're so cute. Professor, they're tiny.
what, did you get a mental image?
Yeah, I could probably hold them in my palm.
Aww. uh,
I don't think they're strong enough to actually manifest outside of the house, but
mm-hmm.
they're so tiny. I want to hold them.
Aww. uh, well, I think the best you can do is do what you've been doing, which is to take care of the house.
Sammy just nod, 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 nod. And like he actually kind of does wrap his fingers against then his knuckles against the table and just kind of lifts his head up to the ceiling and goes, "Hey Hop, would I be able to help take care of your garden?" And there's a very visible, ooh, that's a big emotion of excitement. And he just kind of rubs his face and goes, "Okay, that's apparently a yes. Wow." They're very excited at the idea of me helping with the garden.
uh, oh, that makes sense.
I, oh wow, I thought I had strong emotions. This little guy has very strong emotions. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, uh, even if they're, mm, even if their theoretical form is small, they are a house and a property, it seems, as well.
And Sammy nods and goes, "Yeah, they're pretty big in actuality, I think. It's just they're uh baby?"
Well, yes, certainly.
And like he just goes, when you're a baby, you're held. So they're small, but they're actually big. Does that make sense?
Well, that makes sense to me.
He just kind of nods. Goes, okay, good, because that's the only way I could really explain it in my head.
uh,
And he just kind of stands up and stretches a little bit and goes, "Well, we should probably at least check in on bedrooms
mm.
and make sure all of that's all nice and tied." What? And suddenly Sammy is being pulled through the house with the tiles kind of coming up and rolling,
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and like it transfers over to the carpet too. So like Professor, you just see a very excited little uh, roll of the floor
yeah. Uh,
sweeping Sammy away.
he laughs and gets up to follow.
And Sammy is directed and deposited in front of one of the bedrooms on the first floor, and he just kind of pokes his head and goes, "Ah, okay." And it's like, they look pretty cozy,
That's good.
he says to Hop, and then he opens up another door and goes, "Oh, this is my room." Yep. Because as he opens the door wider for the professor to see, there's a lot of rainbow knickknacks,
Mm.
his a lot of stuffed animals, a stuffed, a little stuffed dinosaur,
Hmm.
and a stuffed crab,
Mm-hmm.
alongside a few other stuffies, uh, like a stuffed pigeon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's also like all of those are basically piled onto the bed. There's a bookshelf above a bookshelf above the uh, a little work desk. There's art easel, uh, and just other knickknacks and things that definitely scream Sammy. Oh, and there's like uh, a little couch and table
Mm-hmm.
on, like it's big enough for a couch,
Yeah.
like a little two person couch, and
Hmm.
like a little coffee table right there, and like just a really nice space to hang out and vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all very very Sammy,
Yeah.
and the walls are pink, gradient pink, like in the Ellipsis, and bright yellow carpet. And there's like Sammy kind of pauses and goes, "Oh, there's a few newer things in here that I didn't put." And he just kind of looks up at the ceiling and goes, "Hop, did you give me gifts?" And there's just a very happy, excited kind of drawer shuffle from the desk.
uh, the professor is like looking around and nodding appreciatively at everything.
And then, hey, Professor, make a deck save.
Oh boy. uh, Dex save. That's actually pretty good. 14.
Okay, so you don't fall over when it's your turn to be swept away, and you are swept to the next or so bedroom on the first floor, and you are deposited in front of the door, and the doorknob kind of just wiggles a little enticingly.
Ooh. Alright. Um, yeah, he's gonna open the door.
All right, describe to me what Professor's room would look like in the House of Pain. Like, what would make him the most comfortable?
Hmm. Um, a long bed for obvious reasons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Comfortable but relatively plain. Um, a work desk and very large bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, maybe a wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's
Okay. Uh, roll me perception,
mm,
because like that's like basically like the standard stuff that you would have seen as you'd been a visitor of the House of Pain before.
okay. Okay, I got a nat 20.
Okay, within that 20, you notice several items that were not there before, and there's a giant magnifying glass for one. Uh, there's a huge array of hats and scarves that are very similar in style to the scarf and hat that you are wearing
Mm-hmm.
right now. And there is a pair of good running shoes.
Uh-huh. Oh. Yeah, he steps in and starts to like look through everything and um he is uh beaming when he looks up at the up towards the ceiling, and he says, "Thank you, Hop."
There's a very excited rattling of the workbench.
Uh, he's gonna try on the different hats.
They all fit very wonderfully and look fantastic.
Oh gosh.
And hopefully, from the wardrobe, Hop produces a full length mirror and just kind of rolls it over.
Oh, very good.
And like just to the ellipsis, Hop just goes, "See? Help! Gifts."
She is also very amused. And gives them a sort of pat of good job.
They are very proud.
uh,
Just yeah, I don't really have any other ideas, but just Hop is very proud that the professor likes their gifts.
mm-hmm. Yeah, gosh.
Now I'm gonna have to type up all of the gifts that Hop is gonna give the rest of the party
Mm.
when they visit.
Oh, delightful.
Oh, I will say, out of character, you can take the things that are in the House of Paint out of the House of Paint because they do
Mm.
actually physically exist.
Nice. Nice. That's good.
So yeah, just the professor has a lot more hats now.
Yeah. Uh,
More hats and more scarves.
yes. Oh, that's so fun. Uh, yeah, he's thoroughly distracted in here, but at some point he'll probably go back uh to Sammy and see what he's doing.
Hmm. Sammy was he also was kind of engrossed in his room, and you come back to find him kind of in a pile of clothing as Hop is tossing more and more clothes on top of Sammy.
uh,
And like he just goes, "I mentioned making a nest, and now this is happening."
uh, well, it looks like you got what you asked for.
I mean, yes, but I was expecting blankets, and then right as he says blanket, a blanket is tossed onto his face.
Yeah, you just have to be specific.
Apparently, th thank you, Hop. I'll start working on the nest. You've been really helpful. Thank you. And like he just kind of like unburies himself and leads the way to the library nook, climbing up the stairs, and he kind of stops for a moment because where used to be like a few bookshelves, there's now a lot of bookshelves, and there's also a pit of uh, blankets and pillows
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the floor.
Oh.
And he just kind of pauses and looks up at the ceiling and goes, "You're fast." And there's just a very pleased wiggle of the curtains.
uh.
And he dumps the pile of clothing and blankets into the nook, into like the little pit
Mm-hmm.
of the nest, and he just goes, "Okay, uh, that's set."
Uh, the
And he
professor.
actually. Oh, you go.
I was gonna say, the professor was gonna wander over to the bookshelves and uh, see if he could find something interesting. And he's gonna ask, "Do you want to read something?"
Uh, I mean, sure. I mean, getting better at it. Still struggle with a few words here and there. And he's gonna kind of trail after you, Professor, and just roll me an investigation real quick.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good roll. Let me see what my modifier is. Yes, even better. Okay, that's a 23.
Okay, with a modified 23, you find several interesting books of the history of Einquell. You find uh, several tomes about just some spells, recipe books. You also find a book called The Prismatic.
Hmm, what's this?
Sammy kind of peeks his head over and goes, Prismatic? Huh? That's kind of similar to what Mom is called. She's called the Chromatic,
Really?
Lady Chromatic sometimes.
Hmm. He's gonna take it out and give it a look.
It actually looks like a little gilded book of a fairy tale, and in it is a story about. Oh gosh, my brain just died.
Ooh.
Thank you, book. Thank you, brain. You were about to go into what this book is, but it's an illustrated storybook, the type you would see for kids,
Hmm.
and it references how there was a story about a house. It was a really good house, but it was lonely. And then a young boy came along and began to take care of the house. And then the house was able to take care of the boy. And uh, basically, as you're reading through it, you realize that it's the story of how Hop views Sammy.
uh, yeah, he just smiles and hands it to Sammy. I think we should start with this one.
Oh, okay. And then like he starts reading, and you just see this like happy little blush start spreading as like his shading goes gold airbrushed with rose. He goes, aw.
Uh,
And he just kind of looks up at the professor and goes, I think this is my favorite storybook yet.
it's a good one.
Mm-hmm. And Sammy kind of just picks. He actually like his eyes fall on one of the recipe books that was like kind of right by you, Professor, and he goes, "Ooh," and grabs that
Mm-hmm.
and tucks it under his arm and goes, "Maybe I can find some really good recipes in here." And
Mm.
like he's already kind of halfway distracted thinking about food. But I say we could potentially leave it there with them reading in the library nook.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Ah.
This was so fun. Thank you, Oatmeal.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It was wonderful. Okay, let's wrap up the recording. Gosh.
All right.
Um thank you for playing with me, Mira.
Thank you for playing with me, Oatmeal, and thank you, listening audience, for being our listeners today. Now and in the future, I hope you had a great time zone.
Bye.
Bye!